podcast for the big time trial of the Giro d'Italia, stage 7 from Foligno to Perugia, 40.6 kilometers long. First 34 Ks are flat. We wait a long time for the intermediate time check number 1.
Yes.
Went 18.5 Ks. Then we wait another 15.5 Ks to intermediate time check 2, which is at the base of the Casiglia climb. 1.3 Ks, 10.7%. A real muro, actually quite steep at the start before it's up and down. It's either flat, it's like a staircase up to the finish in Perugia, with quite a lot of climbing in that final 6 kilometers. 41 Ks long. Very long time trial, Benji. I mean, is this the longest Grand Tour TT since Planche de Beaufort?
I'm not sure when it comes to kilometers and so forth versus time. It depends on how you look at it. I will say it's very long compared to the amount of intermediate checks we have in it. We then looked at Tour de France TTs of the last couple of years. There's always 3 TTs in a 34-kilometer time trial. There's only 2 here. So I felt like I was missing an intermediate check every now and then, maybe one more on the flat even though, let's be honest, the trend on the flat that you see at T1 for most riders are going to continue. With some riders, it did change from the start to T1 versus T1 to T2, but that's what we'll jump into later. But we usually always start with going through the results of the time trial, don't we?
Yes, we're going to start, well, I'll do a bit of a chronology.
Okay.
I'll do a bit of a chronology. Filippo Ganna starts. He opened the favorite. Pog went off favorite at the start of the stage, and it was between those two. G wasn't even third favorite. In fact, Sheffield was, who ends up doing a good TT. But Ganna, Benji, he had the more high variance in that he's the main contender going way before the other GC guys. So he could, like we saw in the Romandy TT, be the beneficiary of that, where he gets a good weather time slot, because there was a bit of wind today.
Very possible, but there's also the advantage that the last X amount of riders, the last 10 riders, get the gaps in between them starting is 3 minutes. For Ganna, it's every minute someone starts.
Yeah.
Which means that there's a lot more riders up the road that also aren't as great at TTing than Ganna is, and also then the GC riders that GC riders would have to catch. So he has a full-on ability to catch X amount of riders.
Their cars, by the way, which are riding at the same speed.
Exactly. He passes Gebre. He passes Kostju from Arkea. Then he's, in the same way you just told me, in the draft of the Astana car for a while, 10 seconds, before he gets into Pronsky's wheel, passes Pronsky. 3 riders passed. On the climb, he passes Meyerhofer, Thomas Champion, passes Mezgec as well. That is 6 riders that he gets to pass, that he gets to benefit from the draft of in this time trial, that those GC riders will never be able to benefit from. That's one aspect. On the other aspect, he does get hindered on the parkour very lightly.
The last 3, I don't think helped that much. Yeah, in the corners. From what you're saying, in the corners, they're kind of slow. Like Champion, I think, slowed him a bit.
That's very possible, though. But I was going to point at the fact that in one of the first corners, he goes into the corner and he's trying to go for the apex. So he starts off on the left wide side.
Yeah.
And a spectator is laughing at the camera, put their hands out to wave at the camera, and basically like against his arm with their hand, and he had to correct himself, which if you go to a cycling race, always think about the safety of the riders. Don't think about, oh, I want to be on television so my grandma can see me, Omiopi, whatever. No, that's an extra, an add-on. First of all, make sure that if you do that it's safe for the riders and partially for yourself as well. We've seen spectators get injured by stuff like that. We've seen plenty of stuff happening. There's so much to it, but mainly the rider's safety should never come at a disadvantage because you are going to a cycling race to look at them.
Well, people underestimate, first of all, how quickly the riders move from side. Exactly, look at that, bang, smashed my water bowl. That's why, by the way, I nuked my laptop the other day. I was having breakfast and I had a glass of water, and I've banned glasses of water because we've got all our tech equipment here, so I banned myself from using glasses of water, and I just went like, bang, just smashed the whole glass of water on my laptop, blew it up. So that's why I'm on like a 7-year-old MacBook Air that doesn't work. But anyway, I soldier on. Never underestimate how quickly the riders can move from side to side of the road. They're always looking for the best line, best road surface, and how fast they are. Like if you've ever been to a race, the riders, it's much quicker maybe than people expect. But yeah, Ganna goes off. He sets a really good time.
Yes.
You know, we don't have many benchmarks, but it looked like a really good time.
It's partially because before the race started, I was like, I'm going to do my math skills a bit. So I spent 45 minutes of my day today trying to figure out what the winning time would be. So I was like, what is the speed going to be on the flat part? okay, we've got 34 kilometers there, so about 50 kilometers per hour is what they're going to ride. I looked at 1.2 kilometers steep segment in the climb. What do we have historically? It's not going to be as fast as the climb they did in Narvaez and Pogacar on day one. So that was 3:30. I'm guessing maybe 4.5, 5 minutes on a time trial after an effort that came before. Then I'm looking at the gradual leftover 4.5 kilometers, whatever it is that there was left. And I thought, okay, they're not going to go 50. They're not going to go 30 either. So maybe somewhere around 40, 35 to 40, maybe 42 at best. And I came to the conclusion, maybe 51 minutes. I haven't actually checked what the actual time is. So
yeah, about 51.
I'm actually happy about my calculation.
51, 52. Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, the only way you can look at and guess what the estimate of this time trial is going to be, because we don't have this exact proportion of a time trial in any recent moment.
And there's also no Wout van Aert to go next to Ganna early, where you see the two's time against each other. He's going against, no disrespect, but Mikel Bjerg, good time trialist, but it's like, how much time does he need to put into him? And he says a time of 52:01. It looks really hot, though. It begins to look much, much quicker as the race progresses.
Exactly. And were you confident that your 0% chance that Ganna wins was going to happen during the race itself? Because the watch-along chat was calling you out.
Before Poggy's T1, I was super confident, that Poggy would win the TT, because, I just thought Ganna had no chance to win this TT because it's of the climb. And I also, then when I saw when Sheffield set a time 32 seconds quicker than him, I thought, it's not that good then from Ganna, but it's still very, very good. But it's within, I thought Poggy needs to be in peak shape and really good shape to win. And so we'll see if he has to do that. And Ganna's time not bested by anybody, best at T1, best at T2, best between T1 and T2, but a bit slower on the finish, last 13 minutes uphill, 14th there, but not shabby. He still monstered that climb, and he's the biggest guy doing that. He was quicker than Bjerg, for example, and even quicker than Luke Plapp on that bit.
But we already saw in early time trialists, even in the very early one, like Milesi versus Dan Hole, for example. Dan Hole had a really good time because he was, really good at that time.
He was third at T1. Even at the finish, did he crash?
That might be Luke inventing.
I think that's Dutch cope. I mean, you mean he crashed his watts on the final climb? What?
But you saw a difference in pacing plan between him and Milesi already very early on in the time trial. So there were people that were hammering the flat because they knew that's where their strength lies, and then on the climb they're slower because he's 1.98 m, I'm pretty sure. Milesi is a bit more in between, so he can go for that flat, plus he can really smash that climb road. I think 40 seconds faster on the climb than Hole or something is my pure guess. So we saw a difference in pacing plan there, and I was curious, is Pogacar going to have a different pacing plan than Ganna? Because on paper, they're the better climbers. So even if those two would start weaker, I would have expected both of them to climb significantly faster than Ganna.
Yeah, they're much lighter. Ganna's carrying around, 83 kegs maybe, compared to these guys who are 70 or less. So, he's got the disadvantage there. But eventually we see the GC guys starting. Pogacar at T1, 10th. 10th at T1. He's behind Maximilian Schachmann by 8 seconds. He's like 20 seconds ahead of Tiberi there. He's only 5 seconds ahead of Plapp at T1. And I think Pogacar could have actually done he could have even gone much quicker on this TT. It's very clear to me. And then you look at T1 to T2, still flat, second. Pogacar is second from T1 to T2, 3 seconds slower than Ganna on that flatter section. Barely any difference.
Yes.
So he clearly was like, first 20 minutes, we're cruising. We're just staying in the game. We're cruising. Also, bear in mind the UAE flat TT setup is amongst the best in the business.
Yes.
The bike maybe it's a little bit heavy for the climbs, but in terms of the flat, the UAE Tour TT, McNulty, Romandy or whatever, flat TT is fast. And then T1 to T2 is monstering, and then T2 to the finish, which is the climb. Let's say he's first by. Compared to Danny Martinez, who also is fast. He's 32 seconds quicker than him, and he's like over a minute quicker than just about everybody else on that climb. And Pogacar wins, not just close, like pretty comfortably in the end. 17 seconds ahead of Ganna, 51. The only man to go under 52 minutes on 51.54. Ganna second, 52.01. And then Sheffield rounds out the podium on 52.33. He did a very even TT. 6th at T1, 4th at T2, and then 6th on the climb. Outstanding from him.
Before we continue looking at all the other riders, including Thomas, including the other rest of the riders in the top 10 in GC, I do want to say the very interesting aspect of that second time check being at the foot of the climb means we get a view of who climbed the fastest on that climbing segment. And I saw O'Connor rode 29 seconds faster than Ganna on the climb. And when I did see that Pogacar arrived 47 seconds behind Ganna at the foot of the climb, I was 100% certain Pogacar was going to win this bar any accidents.
Yeah, because you did the math quicker than me, yeah.
On paper, he should be able to climb 18 seconds faster than O'Connor on this climb.
Exactly. It's like a 1.3K, 10% punch, and then you got to keep going for another 8 minutes or so. And O'Connor apparently had a mechanical during the TT. I don't know when, because his T1 actually was a bit of a shocker. I don't. Maybe it was there. Apparently, Luke said he had chain issues. 22:41, 27th at T1, 20th at T1 to T2, and then he was third on that final climb. One of 4 men to go under 13 minutes, being Poggi, Martinez, and Tiberi, actually. So Tiberi also was similar in that he really sped up during this TT and monstered T1 to T2 and the climb. So he had a similar pacing strategy, Tiberi, as Tadej Pogacar. He just don't have that peak watts. But Poggi doing what's expected, Benji. Like they were didn't go for the stage yesterday. Now back in the two-tone shorts today, wins the TT, and it's not just that he beat Ganna, and he was pumped with the stage win, celebrating over the line. He was pumped, but not just winning the TT, Benji, but taking this control of GC with an iron fist. Because onto a bit of the negative, Geraint Thomas, who was his TT supposed to be his strength. 13th at T1, T1 to T2 going a little bit better, 8th, but 8th is not where you need to be when you're trying to win this bike race. And then he blew up on the climb, 23rd on the climb.
That means 22 people climbed faster on the climb than Geraint Thomas. We're talking, obviously, Pogacar climbed faster, but who else climbed faster? Tratnik, Steinhauser, Alessandro Vere on Arkea, Filippo Zana, Simon Geschke, Mikel Bjerg climbed faster than him, Piganzoli, Pozzo Vivo. Like, this is not just a bad time trial. This is a terrible time trial by Geraint Thomas. And it is because he couldn't sustain his pacing plan, in my opinion, on the climb. Before the climb, it didn't look amazing either. But it's really on the climb that he capitulates, that he blows up, that he loses so much time. Pogacar climbed 1 minute and 20 seconds faster than Geraint Thomas.
That's crazy. And bear in mind, this ain't a 12-minute climb. He's doing that on false flat uphill too, you know? Like it's a bit okay, still if it was an actual 8% climb the whole 12 minutes, it would still be a crazy gap. But then you bear in mind it's not climbing even the whole time, and Poggi still takes that amount of gap. Is crazy. So like incredible TT from Poggi, but yeah, you got to say I mean, you knew it was coming, Benji, because G's not the Fortunatos, the Piganzolis, the Pozzovivos of the world. Really, if Chef and Aronsman are 6th and 4th at T1 and 3rd and 4th and 6th even, they did their pacing plan perfectly at T2, then why would G be much slower? Why would the pacing plan for 68 to 70 kilo G be to conserve and go slow and then monster the climb if the other two guys, Chef and Aronsman, INEOS had maybe, I don't know, I don't understand it that well, but it really seemed from T1 he was struggling. 13th at T1 on the flat. And he said afterwards in the interview with Eurosport that when it came time to go, he just couldn't go. And I think by that he means like to really, really push on the climb. So he just couldn't, sounds like he couldn't do his pacing plan.
And before we continue, this means that Martinez passes him in the overall GC by 10 seconds. And I think if you look at even O'Connor or even the other riders, they're looking at this as, okay, this is an extra opportunity, a potential vulnerability when it comes to Thomas, that he's not taking this amount of time in the time trial. So he might have some other moments this week, or no, maybe not this week, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. Or the rest of this Giro where he's not as good as you expect him to be, which also means that you can believe in second, maybe instead of third. And I think there's quite a few riders that will see opportunities there, including the climbers that you wouldn't expect to have a good time trial, because let's be honest, there's only 4 or 5 riders in this top 20, maybe 6 riders that can TT. So there's a lot of places left for riders that can't TT on paper.
I'll finish so that's the podium. Pogacar, Ganna, Chef, Aronsman 4th on 1 minute. Schachmann, really good TT, 5th on 105 to Poggi. Tiberi on 121 to Poggi. And as I said, at T1, I thought this isn't good enough. And Tiberi really sped up.
Yeah.
Luke Plapp, an excellent time trial in 7th on 145 after being in the break yesterday. Bear in mind, like, is there 10 or 15 seconds extra there? Because he had such a big day yesterday. So he did an excellent TT on what looked like a prototype helmet and frame from Giant. Martinez also sped up 149. He was, second quickest on the climb, Benji, but still 30 seconds behind Poggi on the climb. BR, good TT, 156. And G is 10th on 2 minutes, only 7 seconds ahead of Bok. So Ben O'Connor, I just punted my camera. Ben O'Connor, 207. And so I would say, Benji, apart from G, who we expect more from, I think all those other GC riders that I just read off are happy with their TT.
Yeah.
Bok maybe thinks he left 15 seconds somewhere, but I think the rest of them are happy.
I think so as well. I'm looking at a TT where the results are roughly what expected, except for Thomas. Because I expected Thomas to top 5 this TT.
Yeah, me too.
I saw him as a candidate to potentially win it on a very good day. Pogacar was the one that we brought forward as the winner. Ganna was better than expected.
Me too.
I will say that.
I didn't think Ganna would win, but really he did an excellent time trial for this course. Yeah.
So what are you thinking now? The other time trial that you don't consider flat, but it looks pretty fucking flat to me. Ganna?
Poggi.
Ganna.
Poggi. Poggi could have gone way quicker. Poggi was chilling.
Are you willing to say it? There's 0% chance that Ganna wins the second TT?
No, because there's not 0% chance for the other one, but Poggi was chilling today. You see the way he crossed the line? Like he had another 20 seconds there in the bank if he wanted. Moving on to the not so good TTers, or maybe the moderately happy people. So Lutsenko on 223, Zana 234. That's actually not too bad. Bardet 250, Outerbrooks 255, and then I would say Outerbrooks did not do a good TT. He loses the white jersey to Plapp by 8 seconds, but because of Thomas underperforming, because Martinez still lost 150, Outerbrooks only loses 1 minute to podium contenders Martinez and Thomas, and 130 to Tiberi, he already had a gap on. So I dare say, Benji, if Aronsman had kept it together this week, big if, but like he would be sitting pretty in white right now. But he didn't.
But I also think that I consider Kian's performance slightly better than I expected. You said on par with your expectations. My expectations were just worse. Because his TTs at the start of the year, we can't really judge on that. But on Gran Camino, his form was not horrendous. But in the time trial, he was not good.
No.
And on the Tirreno one, he lost so much time in 10 kilometers.
Was very bad, yeah.
Like, that was shocking. So I expected 3:30 maybe as the loss, and he only loses 3 minutes towards Poggi. So that is better than I personally expected, but that might just be me. I agree.
The gap to Poggi is what I expect, but the gap to the G's of the world and the Martinez's is less by 30 seconds.
When it comes to GC, I'm looking at Lutsenko and Plapp. Uiterbrooks drops those on mountain stages on paper. And when it comes to Martinez, Thomas, he's going to be behind that after this time trial, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not with the margin we expected. He's not 2 minutes plus behind Thomas.
There's another TT coming, though.
Yeah, there's another one coming, which that is the case. But also a lot of mountains coming, and that's one TT that he got a better result than he expected, which is already a positive. You can't look at all the negatives.
Yeah, no. I think he's got to be happy with a solid performance, and also some important rivals already being behind, like Tiberi or Aronsman, and then others having a bad day like G. In terms of guys who didn't do a good TT, but to be honest, like, this isn't a criticism because they're small, and also some of them don't have the teams have the biggest budgets. It's just a long TT that doesn't suit them. But to rattle through them, Stora. Oh, sorry. Let me do it in order rather.
Trying to look for them as well.
Fortunato loses 337. Piganzoli loses 3:52. Caruso crashed hard yesterday. Poor guy.
And is a bit ill.
Is he? He'll go for a stage. Hopefully he rests up and he can win a mountain stage. 4 minutes. Jan Hirt 4:09. Juanpe 4:17. Ina Rubio 4:20. Stora 4:25. Pozzo 4:33. So that's sort of your point, Benji, is like, for Kian, it could be worse. Like, Juanpe, 4 minutes, that's really like too much time to lose. And he didn't.
It is, but these are also the riders, the ones we're talking about, Fortunato, the Rubios of the world, the Juanpes of the world. These are the riders I don't expect top 5 this race anyway. These are the top 10 candidates.
Top 10 guys, yeah.
So they're on par for that. They're looking solid for that. Bardet is still also a rider.
He's fighting, but he's
fighting. And it's also, these are the riders that, if you're 10th on GC and you end up being on, on 10 minutes plus after the second time trial, when the breakaway in week 3, you might actually on 6th.
I think in week 3, they'll literally be everyone from 5th to 10th in GC will be in the mountain breaks.
And he's going to be like,
Nah, they'll be. I mean, I would say Zana overperformed. Actually, like Filippo Zana, second year professional, I think, 2:34 to put 22 seconds into Outerbrooks. And like, I mean, credit to Jaco. Jaco had a really good day. I want to sort of focus. Okay, I'll go. Let's move to GC now, Benji.
Yeah. I want to talk about the GC rankings after today's stage. We saw a hint at it during the race when it comes to the virtual standings, but first Tadej Pogacar, 2 minutes 36 on Daniel Felipe Martinez.
What did I say? He has to win by 5 minutes or it doesn't count? The whole race?
I don't remember what you said, but I initially said 8 minutes 51 and then I dropped it on Twitter to 5:23 or something.
Yeah.
But Thomas, 10 seconds behind Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez moves into second.
Yeah. 2:46 down on Pogacar, Thomas, so he's in third. O'Connor is on 3:33. That's about within a minute of the other two on the podium. So
and he moves up 7 spots.
That's within range. Plapp is on 3:42.
10
He's
spots.
on 5th. He's going to lose that 5th spot. I'm sorry, but I don't believe in Plapp super top 5.
Then he goes back in the break, wins the stage, takes the time back. It's actually better to lose the time.
Exactly. So he's going to lose time into week 2, and then in week 3, he can move up.
Let him cook.
And when it comes to Lutsenko, similar vibes. I think Kian is now in 7th, but 3:50.
But yeah, those time gaps are small, Benji. Plapp 3:42, Lutsenko 3:49.
Tomorrow, Kian is above Lutsenko and Plapp for me.
He would hope so.
Otherwise, there's an issue.
He would hope so.
Siberia, I expect to move up as well. He had a bad luck on Europa with a mechanical. He's on 4:11. He's 21 seconds now behind Kian. But I think Lutsenko and Plapp, one of those might be within range to pass in the next week. Zana is now being in 9th right now, 4:41.
2 Jacos in the top 10.
Fortunato is in 10th, 4:44. Arensman is screening 11, 5:09. Perfect to get in the break tomorrow. Get in the break with a teammate, a tug buddy, get you in the breakaway. You've got a vibe. UAE needs to try and control that gap. They might not consider Arensman dangerous yet. They might not want INEOS to be in the breakaway in the first place still.
He lost... I'm sorry, I'm just looking up how much time he lost, Benji. Sorry.
3 minutes in the first 2 days? 3 days?
In day 1, he lost...
2 minutes?
2 minutes. Day 2, he lost 1 minute 36. And then he's like... Did he lose any time yesterday when he had to pull?
And like, with Thomas losing this much time on this time trial, INEOS needs to go in the breakaway tomorrow. In my opinion.
This time trial for G's got to be a huge concern because if he don't got the watts on the flat part against Martinez, and not even Martinez, Plapp, O'Connor, Lutsenko, then why during the road stage will he knock them out in the climb?
Maybe today's a bad day. Yeah. It's possible. But it's a concerning bad day.
But on Lusari, he had like not the best finish. Yeah. He still came second at TT, right?
Yeah.
So, no, this was a really bad day. And then also Europa Benji, like, he didn't pull with Bok, sat in the wheel, went back, and no offense to these guys, but he went back with Lorenzo Fortunato and didn't pull. And I think maybe because he couldn't. So it's like, does he have the watts at the moment? And I agree with you 100%. If he can't beat Pog in the TTs, he's not going to. If he can't beat Pog for the sprints in Bonies, he's not going to.
Yeah.
Then, okay, you have the hard mountain stages later. I grant
Which is a possibility, but Pogacar doesn't capitalize by losing 3 minutes towards Thomas.
On Granon, when Poggy cracked hard
to
G, he lost a minute.
Yeah.
Not 4 minutes. So, or 3.5 minutes. So I agree. They have to play
Pogacar would
Aaron.
need to wobble multiple stages for that strategy to work.
You need to get sick or something.
In my opinion, they need to try and get in breakaways. Worst case scenario, you can fight for the stage win. Like
they have to play Aaronsman. We'll talk a little bit more about the tomorrow's stage in a second.
At what point do you switch to we want to get second? Because right now they're 2 minutes 46 behind Pogacar. I'm sorry, but I think it's now where you look at Thomas try to beat Martinez for second. Arendsman go in the break with someone like Vos, Sheffield, whatever.
Yeah.
And try and win a stage that way. That way we've got second ongoing. We can get Arendsman maybe in the top 10 somehow. Plus maybe a stage win here or there. I think that's what you're looking for right now.
Arendsman can still podium this race.
I think this, like, bar, crash and axe and anything else, Pogacar looks extremely comfortable. And it's very leading towards saying, oh, this Giro might be over. PC-wise. Victory-wise.
Yeah, maybe. Because, this TT is concerned from G, but it might just have been a bad day. He said he didn't know what happened, but...
2:46 is a lot, eh?
It is, but you never know what could happen.
When has Pogacar lost 2:46 to anyone but Vingegaard in a Grand Tour? Maybe his first one in 2019. I don't even know if it was 2:46.
Did he lose a minute to Jörg Zimmerman on Col Lows?
Not 2 minutes 46.
Well, what did he lose to Yates and the other guys? So, yeah, I wouldn't give up personally because I don't see the strategy to make INEOS do well and G do well for maybe second. I don't really see it as that different from going for first.
Okay.
Still put Aaronsman in the break. Okay, not to put UA under pressure, put Broe under pressure.
Yeah.
Because say, Aliotti, you chase all day with no Lipovitz. So to me, it's the same. It's like, you got to try some shit.
Yeah, but...
To me, today is like, you have to try some shit. I agree with you in that you can't just be like, let's wait for week 3 with G, see what happens. No. You have to do some stuff. You have to try and create a bit of chaos now with Aaronsman.
It might also be a bit late for that.
Nah.
It's 2:46. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. But
what are you going to try? That's what I'm looking at. If you're INEOS, what are the potential strategies? If you still want to win, go in the breakaway with Aaronsman and Vos, whatever, puts pressure on Broe, whatever, that's a possibility. Makes the race maybe a bit harder for UAE as well in the process. But at this point, you made it so that Broe will also ride against you. Not just UAE. You've got 2 teams that you're putting under pressure, which means that you're not putting that much pressure on UAE anymore.
Yeah, but, I mean... What's Danny Van Poppel going to do on them climbs tomorrow?
He's not the only rider on board as well. Lipovitz is gone, though. That's a
exactly.
benefit. It's not a benefit for Broe, but a benefit for INEOS.
I'm being churlish. Actually, Patrick Gamper on those climbs early tomorrow would be quite good. I guess I don't want to step on that stage discussion too much, apart from I think Decathlon are happy. I think Astana are pretty happy. I think Jayco are very happy. I think... Broe are quite happy, although I even think Martinez, I don't think it actually was his best TT actually,
no,
but it was still good, but not his best TT.
It's a victory because you wouldn't expect him to pass Thomas in a time trial.
Exactly, the result is what you wanted. I think Bahrain with Tiberi are actually quite happy because they think he can do some more later.
And when it comes to time trials, when it comes to Martinez, it's also not. I don't think the pacing strategy was a problem right now.
No.
It's not like
He's still small.
He just did the what's he could do, so you have to work with what he had.
Yeah.
With Thomas, you can say maybe he should have gone a bit slower in the first portion, but then he might still lose the same amount of time. So I don't know if the pacing strategy was the problem. He did blow up a bit, but he might just not have had a good enough day to do the expected pacing plan. And you can only know that once you actually are performing the pacing plan.
What do you think this changes for Pog? As you said, massive gap. We have a stage tomorrow that on paper with that sort of climb where he set the climbing record back in 2021, which his teammate actually Ulisi broke 3 weeks ago, and he won the stage in Treno Adriatico then. It's a climb where you say, oh, Poggy can win this stage, no problem. But already yesterday we saw in the post-race interview, Poggy said, I wasn't really fussed about the stage. Today he wins the TT. Now he's got a big gap, and now he mentioned the Tour de France in his interview yesterday. If that sort of reasoning continues, Benji, then I do not expect UAE to be chasing the break to win the stage tomorrow.
It's the way you look at it. Yesterday, my initial conclusion after seeing the first breakaway formation was UAE is riding like they want the stage win.
Yeah.
But after the stage, I think I've changed my mind to I don't think they're riding the breakaway formation in the way that they should be riding it.
Yeah.
As in, for example, there's 5 riders up the road, 4 riders respond to that. Those 4 riders are not dangerous for GC.
It's Shackman or
Those
someone.
5 riders at the front are not dangerous for GC either. UAE would be riding after that counterattack.
Because they've seen on the whiteboard before that you can't let a group more than 8 guys go up the road.
Yeah, exactly. A large group goes up the road. The DS told them, you got to catch large groups because you don't want to let large groups go up the road because that's less controllable.
Yeah.
But those are all undangerous riders.
Yeah.
Once those riders in the breakaway have a solid enough gap, they're going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
And reality is, you're going to shorten the breakaway formation phase by doing that. Because yesterday, many of those breakaways, UAE chased down.
Yeah.
And reality is, they could have made the breakaway formation 50 kilometers instead of 100 kilometers. And tomorrow, that's going to matter.
I think so. And tomorrow's stage, which we've danced around a little bit, Spoleto to Prati di Tivo, a climb you'll be familiar with, particularly if you did watch Giro d'Abruzzo recently. It's not the hardest before the climb, final climb, 152 kilometers, but there is a lot of up and down. I'll just quickly check, or maybe Luke can check how much Denevel meters are actually in the stage in total. But it opens with an uphill, 7Ks, 4%, then a downhill, then a steeper climb, 4.7Ks, 8%. I dare say that's where the serious guys will try to start going in the break.
Yeah.
But then that climb keeps going. But it's actually quite gradual, a lot of the climbs, like 4%, 5%. The second last climb, the Croce Abbio, 8Ks, 5%. I don't know if it's fake news. But it adds up then when you get to Prati di Tivo, 14.7Ks, 7%. Not the hardest climb, very regular, good road surface. It's a fast climb. Like we see riders set their best climbing performances actually on this climb because it's so fast normally. And look, it's 3,600. So it's 3,600 meters altitude gain in 152. That's actually quite a lot for that length of stage, particularly without some, I would say, proper there is no HC climb before Tivo. So an interesting stage, Benji. Is it hard enough, this parcours, for the sort of raid we've been talking about with Arensman Chef?
Well,
you got to try.
Yes, it's not just for GC anymore at this point. It's also an opportunity for the stage when Arends want to move up. But I'm also looking at GC and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm UAE and I start the stage, I see the start of the stage and I see multiple climbs where breakaway formation will be hard to control.
Yep.
Molano, Oliveira, Langen, you're going to burn through those guys.
You need Groschartner and Novak for it.
Bjerg is also going to be riding at a certain point already. So you're going to look at those riders already in that early portion spending time. So I want the breakaway formation phase to be as short as possible.
You want it gone fast.
Who am I marking? It's not as easy to say to a rider, okay, these are the X amount of riders that you need to mark, because they might not always be able to see that, but you do need to give them X amount of names that they really need to mark. First of all, I would say no INEOS riders in the breakaway. Maybe just to Arensman.
Okay, so if Johnny wants to go in, then fuck it.
Then I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine for me.
Yep.
But Arensman, I would not let in the breakaway. Okay. Even though I don't really see significant danger there, but it can
be annoying.
It can be annoying. And sorry, Arensman, Timon, you're annoying tomorrow.
Okay.
The rest of the riders in the top 8, who's considered dangerous there? Top 9, top 10. Fortunato, Zana, I'm okay with them being in the breakaway because they might take the Maglia Rosa away from me, which I'm okay with by X amount of if those guys take 1 to 2 minutes in GC at the end of that stage, a breakaway that wins by 6 minutes, I don't care.
That'd be fantastic for them.
Flap. Yeah. If he wins and he takes the Maglia Rosa by 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, I'm okay with that because Pogacar certainly can catch those riders back easily.
Well, it's another TT. You can take
Lutsenko, even though he's got more of a reputation when it comes to GC riders top 10s.
Oh, you still kill him in the TT?
Exactly. I've got no fear for Lutsenko, so no mind there. But then you need to keep the gap on 6-7 minutes. But that's much easier than on the 2 minutes 30 they did in gravel stage.
And guess what happens? Guess what happens when that gap gets to 4 minutes?
Then the other top 10 riders start riding for UAE.
Decathlon calling, get on the front.
Yeah.
So actually, Poggy is in the perfect spot in UAE to begin riding completely passive.
Yeah.
Because the gap is so big now, to the every other GC rider, the gaps actually between the top 10 are very small. Second to 10th is separated by under 2 minutes. And so I would let Aronsman in the breakaway, knowing that Bora, Decathlon, and Jayco will start pulling. I would let him in the break. I would let Novak let it out, and eventually, and you don't even need to use Bjerg. And then I'm pretty sure Jayco will come, or Decathlon will come.
I agree that Aronsman isn't even that dangerous anymore. Like,
I mean, not to beat Poggy.
No.
So, but if you're
on the other hand,
if you're Ben O'Connor after seeing Aronsman's CT today and him pulling on the gravel yesterday, you can't just treat him like a joke.
Yeah, but you also don't want Aronsman to enter the top 3 again, because then he might be annoying in the future in GC when they have 2 leaders again. So
INEOS.
That's the one reason why I would considering.
Yeah, fair enough. Because then he takes the time tomorrow, no problem. But then what about the next day when he goes?
Yeah, because then they're both on 3 minutes, and you're like, okay, now I need to at both of them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't let Aronsman in just for the sakes of that.
Fair enough.
But
Rubio might be a nice one then.
Rubio, like all those riders in the top 15, except O'Connor, except Martinez, except Thomas. Uiterbrooks, I wouldn't let in there either. Tiberi, probably, that's probably not. He's on the edge. I wouldn't let him in the breakaway. The rest, I would consider, you can go in the break. I'm not scared of you. We can beat you. That's okay. You can take the Maglia Rosa for all I care at the end of the stage. And then the key will be not doing the strategy they did in the gravel stage when it comes to the breakaway formation, because they did overkill when it comes to the responses. If you see a large group, what is a large group? If 16 riders go up the road, that's a bit more dangerous.
16, you don't know who's in there.
Exactly.
Remember, how long did it take for the race radio to say Hindley was in that group on stage 5 last year? It took like 5-10 minutes.
Exactly.
Took a long time.
But you need to be at the front of the breakaway formation anyway to see who goes into the groups. You need to try and figure out who's in the groups that goes away, and whether that's based on numbers, or you actually know what Aronsman looks like, whatever, or those 5 riders that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Because right now it's only 5 riders, 6 riders, eh?
Yeah, it's not many, really.
And one of them is wearing
But is Uiterbrooks really going to jump?
One of them is wearing a white jersey, so you can recognize that guy easier.
I think... Anyway, so I think the break should win tomorrow.
Yep.
The break has a really good chance. It's already the big enough gaps. Some GC top 10 hopefuls will be getting in there. So that means good climbers, particularly the ones that didn't have a good TT today. And so I'm going to go with Michael Storer.
Fuck.
Oh, sorry. I can change.
You can do it. I'll take someone else.
Okay. I like Storer for it.
Can't believe it.
Because he really is quite far in GC now because his TT was so bad. But also Rubio is a very, very good option too. Chavito also. He actually. I'm looking at Europa. So if you look at Europa, who are the guys that can get in the break? Who are the guys that can win from the break? And it's like Fortunato, Storer, Rubio are the guys that were the strongest on Europa. The other ones in that top 7 are not being allowed in the break.
Who am I going to pick for the stage?
Do you think it could be like a really not a GC guy, like a Steinhauser or Caruso?
It depends on how UAE controls the breakaway, because they've shown repetitively how they do it, and they extend the breakaway formation phase long. And if you do that, then you might come to the point that you cannot actually check who's in it. You just have to settle for whatever breakaway exists, like they did on the gravel stage.
Yeah. Think Italian, Benji. Think young and Italian.
There's always Zana, there's Fortunato, all those kind of riders.
No.
Romain Bardet wins tomorrow.
Romain Bardet, okay.
I want to see it.
I was trying.
What else is DSM going to do?
He should go on the break. I was thinking Pellizzari, Piganzoli.
Jakobsen, Tug Buddy on the first climb, then OTL?
Jakobsen can't help you on that.
Man,
Kevin Vermarker should go in with him. Kevin Vermarker.
I want to see a Jakobsen sprint to try and get Bardet in the breakaway on the first climb of the day.
Pellizzari lost 6 minutes 10 today, so he didn't. I mean, I think he was out of GC already.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
But Pellizzari.
Good pick, man. Pellizzari for that stage?
No, I picked Storer.
But it would be a good pick.
Yeah, well, Bardiani have improved a lot the last 3 years. They're not a joke. Like, they're not just breakaway filler. They get in the break and they're serious guys like Fiorelli or Pellizzari. So yeah, if you're in the break with him with a mountaintop finish, I'd be a bit worried.
I'll give you a bit notes when it comes to the chat in the live stream right now. Piganzoli is being named, which is an option. I don't see it for the victory though. Van Sevenal is being mentioned. Same story. Don't see it for the victory. Parepantre, I think that's a...
I don't like the look of the shape of the PP brothers, actually. I think they don't look nearly as good as Tour of the Alps.
I think Corolian's okay. I think Corolian's going to be in the break tomorrow.
Okay. But Stora, if he's in, man, Stora is climbing on a different level to those guys. But he has to get in the first place. GC-wise, what do you expect to happen, Benji? Behind the breakaway. Who should take it up? And I reckon if you're Decathlon, and if you're Bora, I reckon especially Decathlon, I think you got to go after G tomorrow. I think you have to. You got to assume that he's not feeling the best, or what. Maybe they don't know what's wrong. I think you got to go after him.
In my opinion, INEOS should also come to the front on the final climb and do their typical soft pacing.
Skytrain.
If they don't have full confidence in Thomas, go to the front, do the Skytrain that isn't like the brutal tempo.
Because that should drop APP and VPP.
Because that gives that's the illusion of you actually pacing, but you're actually just riding a passive tempo for Thomas against the others. Unless he just feels good tomorrow, eh? Like today wasn't good, but who knows? He might have a better day tomorrow. But I agree, Bora should go for it. Decathlon should go for it. Flap should try and go in the breakaway.
No,
because he ain't surviving in the peloton group.
Zana, I think, will just survive in the peloton group and do as best as he can.
Do you see it as Jaco should put Zana in the break and then let Plap survive, and the next time it's Plap's turn in the break?
Well, I think if Rubio, Bardet type guys are jumping and Stora, then I think Zana should try jump. But then if Zana jumps, then Bahrain jump, then Otterbroeks jumps, then it's like a cascade effect. But
Plap was in the breakaway yesterday, but in the early part of the race, UAE and INEOS were both reacting to Plap. So they do consider him a bit of a threat, which I think they might actually respond to Plap, which I don't think they necessarily should.
I think they will respond to him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll try and go in the break. But I don't know.
He's also got... It's super annoying that he's got the Aussie shirt. I love it.
It's very noticeable.
But it's very noticeable. Everybody knows it's him if he attacks.
I think he'll try conserve. It is a mountaintop finish in the end, but I think Otterbroeks, Tiberi,
Chavito,
all the climbers, they got to go after Thomas tomorrow, I think. And O'Connor in particular, they got to go after him because he showed vulnerability today and he's not that far ahead of them in terms of podium.
Is there a world where INEOS says, okay, what Pogacar did today reduces our belief that Thomas can win this Grand Tour, so we're now going to try and get Thomas in second and Arnsman in the top 10?
Well, I mean...
Or is it too early for that?
Well, I mean, tomorrow's not the stage you're going to crack Poggy anyway, so it's a moot point. I think you just put Arnsman in the break tomorrow regardless of whether you think that, and then you just try to survive the next stages, see where you're at after the stage 14 ITT, and then I think you have one big crack on stage 15. And
the battle that we haven't spoken about, Uiterbroeks, Tiberi, Plap, Zana. I think Visma cares about the white jersey. Obviously, you would know. But are they going to respond to Plap as a consequence of that? From my perspective, they'll look at other teams to do that.
I mean, I would look at Bahrain to do it with Tiberi. But yeah, also Zana's in that competition too. So Jaco actually have two of the top four. But I would, with Geesink out, Laporte just crashed. Tratnik looked good today. Actually, Tratnik did a good TT today, but wasn't good enough yesterday. Van Dijk crashed in the TT. Who else? Walter was good on the gravel and on Europa and the stage 1, but he crashed I think once or twice. So are you really going to try kill your team to stop Plap getting the break when I personally think, based on Europa,
I think Plap will fall back automatically.
Yeah, that just by virtue of the race, Kian. If Kian's not dropping Plap at some point in these hard third week mountain stages, then
there's a problem with Kian.
Well, then Kian's not sniffing the podium. And also podium is
better than white
bigger
jersey.
than white jersey. So I think it's a bit early for that. Maybe it's good that actually Plappy, it shares around a bit and Plappy does the media duties. KOM Poggy's still leading, points Milan still leading. I do think Carmajan tried to go quick up the climb to get some of those KOM points, but unfortunately,
Bahrain will definitely ride for that white jersey.
Yeah, for sure they will. So I think you can lean on Bahrain a little bit with Tiberi, and I don't think it's realistic for Plapp to get in the break tomorrow. Also, 3 hard days in a row, he might be fucked if he does that.
Yeah.
Although he responded well in TT today, 7th, so who knows?
Who knows? He might be doing an Eboli by week 3. He's going to be first.
So you reckon GC group of 8 guys, maybe Poggy just coming in with the group, not even sprinting?
Nah, Poggy will do something if he...
You reckon he'll attack?
I reckon he does.
I don't reckon.
Really?
I reckon he's chilling. Yeah, I reckon it's going to be a group of 8 guys.
He's going to push a little more. If you can push a little more, then you're safe,
Actually,
even
yes.
safer for the second week and the third week.
None of these guys have climbing domestiques,
Yeah.
except G. Kelderman couldn't start. Bookman didn't start, and then Lipovitz abandoned.
Caruso is by the side of the road trying to recover himself.
Lutsenko and Fortunato were both in GC. Rubio and who? Like, there's no climbing domestiques. There's Aliotti, Babora. He was good on the gravel. But yeah, there's who's going to set a fierce pace. The best climbing domestique left in the race is Rafael Micah.
Yep.
So he decides what happens. Or Aronsman, I guess. But he's now a GC guy. So anyway, lots of stuff to talk about. That's why we love time trials. Let us know what you think will happen. Last points.
Well, Giro to decide. We got to talk about some other races. Because some other stuff happened today. Tour de Hungary, we had the mountain stage. You're going to have a video on your channel about it.
Yep.
But for the people that do want to hear a spoiler right now, we had a mountain finish where the victor was Thibaut Nys, which he beat Ulysses in a sprint, in a reduced group after the climb. Boekman got beaten in the group as well. So disappointing by Emu, but that's a strong performance by Nys. And next to that, I also watched the first stage of Itzulia Women, which... Have you seen the profiles of the route?
Yeah.
It's like they had flat stages and threw darts at the profiles and put the rampa and Humana everywhere that they point to the dart
But
at.
it's all a flat finish, right?
Yeah, it's like 30% of the stage, let's put a rampa there. So with 30% to go, let's put a rampa there. And in today's stage, that was basically fully controlled by SD Works, and Bredewold had the ultimate lead out, as in relatively. Reusser, Vollering, and then Bredewold.
It's pretty good.
And she won the race.
Yeah. Ingvild Gaskin couldn't start. She might have been one of those sort of punchy riders to get around this course who could have fought SD Works for a stage win, but she was sick. Sierra was second, so I think SD Works is going to run away with this. Was this the race that Vollering, quote unquote, gifted to Reusser last year, or was that Swiss?
This was Reusser's victory gifted by Vollering, yes.
Yeah. And so
there was another one as well, I think.
Okay. So basically, we have this at Zulia Women, and then there's the Burgos, I think, the week in another week. So La Vuelta for the women there is kind of 3 weeks of racing in Spain at World Tour level for the women, just with a few rest days in between.
Yes, but are the same ones going to do it? Because now at Itzulia, the start list is looking a lot grimmer.
It's weaker
than La Vuelta. Vollering is there, but she's going to probably win it, most likely, her team.
No longer Borghini, no Nevidoma, no Riolini, no...
When it comes to Burgos, the start list is basically empty right now, but will Vollering do that one as well in addition to... I don't know, will she ride Giro Don this year? I don't necessarily think so. I expect Tour de France Femme to be your next big goal.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what races you're going to ride, because maybe people are skipping Itzulia and Burgos because they want to do Giro Don.
Yeah, I think she'll do Burgos, and she'll really try to win that because there's a mountaintop finish. She's happy for Bredewold or Reusser to win this race. And then I think she'll rest and then prepare for the Tour de France Femme. Oh, actually, that starts very late this year. So there is a big gap between the two.
Did we mention the savage worst of that interviewer against Thomas? It wasn't on purpose, but it came over pretty badly.
Well, yeah, the interviewer said after he was very disappointed. He said, yeah, but look, like Ganna, Aronsman, and Sheffield, they're all up there in the TT, and then there's you.
He said the words "except you,"
Yeah.
and Thomas looked at him like, "What the fuck? Thanks."
I was like, thanks. But
he didn't mean it like that.
I think he was kind of trying to say that, but it's not all bad because like the other guys had a good TT today.
But it looked like an absolute roast.
But that kind of makes it worse because then it's like, well, clearly the pacing plans for the other 3 was fine and the equipment was fine. Yeah. Anyway, these things happen. Sometimes not. I don't think you're going to get a happy respondent after they've not had a good result. Yeah. And you shove a mic. Anyone's going to be, I would be cranky.
Yeah, I don't mind Thomas being cranky at that. Anyway, like the way the interviewer said it was not on purpose, but it was truly savage.
Yeah.
So he responded very nicely, I would say, Thomas, to that.
Yeah, I think, but he also, the question before, he'd also already had enough. And he was like, maybe another question should have been asked in the first place.
I agree.
Ganna also wasn't too happy as well, actually, after the TT, understandably. But hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll see you with the recap. The podcast, yeah. It's becoming that way. We'll see you with the recap of stage 8 tomorrow on Prati di Tivo, our second mountaintop finish this week. And hope you enjoyed this pod. Till then, ciao.